Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood. As we finish up this look at 1980s sci-fi alien abduction movies, creatures or things unknown that come from the world of the outer space that will pick you up, they will do tests on you, and you might get probed right in the rectum.
Maybe.
Because we are talking about 1980s It Came from the Sky Month Part 2. Talking some sci-fi horror movies from the 80s. And we're finishing off this pretty crazy month, I would say, with a ton of different style of videos that we explored. But we're finishing off. If y'all like Christopher Walken being a crazed maniac, talking all kinds of shit that I could understand because I wasn't high enough to watch this movie. If y'all like other people that are around Christopher Walken that I think were just as confused as I was watching him. And if y'all like alien creatures who will stare at you, they will get you high, they will probe you, and then you'll forget what happened next morning, kind of like a Vegas trip, then this is the movie for you, brother, because the Retro Blood is talking all about communion. J.H. Alison, James Kline. What's happening, Alison? How was your how was your trip to the country getting abducted by small space alien gray creatures and Party City alien monsters, getting probed, getting injected in the neck, and then dancing very weird with Christopher Walken? How'd that work out? How'd that work out for you, Allison? That was fun, huh?
Fantastic, man. This movie's fucking weird. This movie is fucking weird.
So, as you can see, everybody, this week I'm on assignment. I am out here in the country. And for some reason, my hotel doesn't have an alarm system, but it has been going off really weird. So I might get probed during this episode. I don't know.
Yeah. The aliens are coming to get you.
So as I drink my seltzer, I'll have to say one thing, Allison, because you've seen this movie before, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was watching this shit on the Tubies. That's where I found it. And first of all, this fucking guy, Christopher Walken, I mean, I don't know. He's always been like a strange one to me. Just like his like acting style, and he's just so nonchalant about everything. And like, we'll talk about it when we do the Who booked this shit, but like, I was watching this and I'm like, there's no way that this fucking director scripted this guy any fucking lines. He just ad-libbed everything. And I just guessed that, right? And then I do some research about the fucking film, and the director's like, yeah, I just kind of let him do his own thing. I was like, I fucking knew it, because this guy was saying all kinds of weird shit during this movie. I was like, what is going on here, man? All right. And then, like, we get to the aliens part, and I was like, I am not high enough to understand what is going on in this fucking movie. I was like, maybe I should like got a warning, but like, hey, you gotta take like at least take a couple puffs. You know what I mean? Before you get to the alien scene, that he's gonna talk about all this stuff and aliens coming over and being one with their minds, bro. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know what the fuck was going on. I was just sitting here sober as the fucking. I didn't even drink beer or nothing. I was just drinking some Pepsi and shit. Next thing I know, this fucker's dancing with these little aliens. I'm like, what is going on here? So cheers out there to 1989's Communion.
Cheers.
Well, we're going to talk about it. It was something. I'm going to tell you the truth.
So I've wanted to do this movie since the last year when we did the It Came from Outer Space, but it didn't make the cut last time. And I have wanted to know what you would think about this since then. And I know that this was not what you were expecting.
No. No. Yeah, sometimes we all do just to be fun.
Yeah.
Like when we pick out movies, I won't even read the movies about. You know
Mm.
what I mean? I'll just pop that shit on there and just give my honest thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I got recommended this movie from you and one who shall not be named. All right, I'm just messing with her. Just my girl. She recommended this movie too because she wanted to watch it, and I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
shit, it'll line up perfectly with
Yeah.
us doing another sci-fi." Because there's a bunch of sci-fi films, in the '80s. We'll probably do a part 3 coming here, I mean, later on and shit because there's so many of them out there.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I didn't read anything about it. I just knew it was an alien abduction movie in the '80s. That's all I knew. All right,
Mhm.
and then this fucking Christopher Walken comes on there. I'm like, God, this guy, he looks so young, and then he starts acting in it. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So, but what's your
So has
experience? When did you? She never seen it either. We both watched
you
it for the
know?
first
Okay.
time. Yeah,
Okay. All right. So, all right. So my experience with this movie, I saw it when it was new, or
yeah,
kind of new. I saw it on home video,
yeah.
and when I saw it the first time, my reaction was much like your reaction is now, probably.
Yeah. What the
Um,
fuck's going on?
but then as time went on, I became more interested in Whitley Strieber, and
Yeah.
then several months ago, like right around the time the hurricane happened.
Hmm.
Um, I started reading a bunch of alien abduction books. I got really into alien abductions for some reason,
Yeah.
and I was reading all these alien abduction books. And the book for this Communion is
Yeah.
is one of the books that I read.
Yeah.
And the book is not really possible to make into a movie.
I got you.
Because it's not fiction; it's a true story, according to him. It's a true story, and it would be really hard to. It would be really hard to make a narrative story out of it because it's basically just him talking about his experiences.
Experiences, yeah.
Yeah. Now there's strangely less of those experiences in the movie than there is in the book. The movie seemed to be mostly
Really?
about him having this quote unquote normal life. And then
Really?
all of a sudden these weird alien things happen to him and he can't control it, which is what the book is about. But there's like much more hypnosis in the book than there is in the movie. And that's kind of how he figures out what happened to him. But and then there's other characters in the book that aren't in the movie either. It's not a very good version of the book, but I think the book would be impossible to make a movie out of. I feel like the movie is good in a really strange, weird sort of way. Like for just a weird movie, I think it's pretty good. Yeah. I think the movie would have been better served if Christopher Walken didn't play Whitley Strieber in it, because Whitley Strieber is a fairly normal guy. Like he's pretty normal. Like when you hear him talk, because he has a podcast too. It's called Dreamland.
Yeah.
That he still does, and he's pretty normal. Other than he talks about aliens all the time, but he's pretty normal. But Christopher Walken is just this over the top, guy, and he's just like going off all the time. And Willie's not really like that, or it doesn't seem like from what I've seen. But the book is really good, and I think the movie is good for what it is. I mean, it's kind of weird.
Well, I got a couple of funny quotes that we'll be talking about when it comes to the "Who Booked This Shit" line of the betrayal of what was his name in the Whitley
Strieber, yeah,
Whitley Strieber, and how he was betrayed with Christopher Walken. So I got some pretty fun stuff when it comes to Who Booked This Shit.
Okay.
Of how the movie was made and everything, and we're also we're actually familiar a lot with Whitley over here because we have reviewed in the past 2 of his movies, and they actually are 2 of my favorite movies that we reviewed on this channel before. That would be Wolf Den, and that would be
The Hunger.
The Hunger with David Bowie.
Yes.
And both of those films are great. Both of those reviews are very fun too. Go check them out in the archives. You can check them out on Apple and Spotify and all where you get your podcast from. I think they're on YouTube as well too. But check them out, everybody. Those ones were very fun. Check out those movies too. And like what we were talking about with this movie, he does have his own kind of like style of filming, or like his storyboards are very similar.
Well, he wrote the books that those movies are based on.
Yeah. Yeah, like his storyboard stuff is pretty familiar. But yeah, this one was a little different than those on some aspects. But yeah, it's pretty fun stuff. So, but we'll get on to it. But like every retro blood
Mm-hmm.
and anal and alien probing is no different.
No.
Okay, because when we beam you up to the retro blood spaceship, all right, we don't only put needles in your neck. We don't only probe you, even though we don't see probing, we just hear about it all the time. And we make you think, you know what? Did that happen? Did they talk about wrestling that week or metal music? I don't know. I can't remember. I gotta get hypnotized and I gotta act all funny about it.
Yeah.
Because we are gonna talk about what is happening in the world of the pro wrestling and the metal music when this movie came out, November 10th, 1989. So
Yes.
a very late 80s release
It
over here
is.
on the Etcher Blood. I like when we get to like the tip of the 80s, you know what I mean? Because
Mm.
we're gonna talk about when we get to the tip of the 80s, it's basically like we're in like the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like because all the 90s stuff that y'all like, you know what I mean, like the grunge and shit, or like the
Mm.
90s style wrestling, or like the way like X Files is gonna be on the 90s. It all kind of starts at 1989 and then it kind of
Yeah.
grows. It kind of grows a little bit. So the first thing I want to talk about is the pro wrestling. Okay. Now
Okay.
there's a couple fun things I've found over here. One of them I know we talked about before. So I'm going to talk about this one. So apparently there was a November 10th. This is according to pro wrestling fandom. Okay,
Okay.
where we get a lot of our research of what was happening in the 80s of the pro wrestling. So there was an NWA WCW house show
Mm-hmm.
that happened in me and Allison's backyard of the Asheville, North Carolina, at the Asheville Civic Center. And I could not believe this when I read this. And I was like, fuck, how the fuck was I not, you know, old enough to see this match in Asheville?
Mm-hmm.
The main event, it doesn't give me anything else except for the main event, but to be honest with you, it doesn't matter. The main event,
Yes.
the man himself, Ric Flair, the
Yeah.
NWA world champion,
Mm-hmm.
fought Terry Funk in a steel cage match
Mm-hmm.
at the Asheville. I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah. Can you imagine what that was
Yeah.
like?
Yeah.
And I just came
Jesus
just
Christ.
barely too late for this.
Yeah.
Because after
Yeah.
1989, there wasn't shit going on here.
Yeah.
Like, not shit. I mean,
Nothing.
well, actually, that's not really true. There's actually some good wrestling shows in the 90s, but I wasn't. But
Yeah.
until like 98, I wasn't into wrestling yet. But yeah, I mean, when I look back at all the 1980s wrestling shows that happened in this town, I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
my God. Like, it's hard to believe that the place that we saw AEW
Yeah.
that night had Ric Flair
So
versus
far.
Terry Funk in a steel
In a
cage.
Yeah, in a cage match.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about. Like, such a small little town like our Asheville is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think besides that, I think the other crazy of the North Carolinas that I
Yeah.
always thought was very fascinating, even though it didn't happen in the 80s, it happened mostly in the 90s, was that they would have WCW War Games in Winston-Salem.
Yes.
That's crazy to think
Yes.
about too. You know what I mean? Because the War Games
Mm-hmm.
now, they bring that shit. Like if you think about it nowadays, WWE, they bring War Games to big cities. That's for Elimination Chamber. They do arenas with that matches now. Like they do like big football arenas with that shit now. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Or for Survivor Series, sorry. Like, Survivor Series isn't like the biggest event that the WWE does, but it's one of the biggest events and it's one of the
Yes.
biggest names. And they're, like I said, they're doing big arenas and shit. But like back in the day, WCW was doing it in Winston-Salem. Not even Charlotte, not Raleigh, not Charlotte, Winston-Salem.
Well, the thing you got to understand though about Charlotte though that people don't really remember is that up until 1988,
Yeah.
probably, Charlotte didn't have a big arena. That's why Starrcade was in Greensboro, because the Greensboro Coliseum held like 20,000 people. So up until the Charlotte Coliseum that's not there anymore. So there was the old Coliseum that we went to see AEW in Charlotte, the Battle of the Belts. And then they built when the Hornets came, to what? Sorry, so I got a notification there. Anyway, so when the Hornets came, they had to build a new arena because 8,900 people or whatever the Coliseum held is not enough for an NBA team. So they out on Tyvola Road, they built the Charlotte Coliseum. So then we had two Coliseums, and they basically closed the old one. They didn't really use it for much. So all concerts, everything, wrestling, everything started going to the Tyvola Road Coliseum. And then when they lost the Hornets, and when Hornets came back, or they became the Bobcats. When they started the Bobcats, they built that arena downtown, which is where all the concerts are now. And then they demolished the Coliseum on Tyvola Road. So the reason all these shows happened in Greensboro originally was because Charlotte didn't have a big Coliseum. That's why Starrcade was in Winston-Salem. But I mean, in Greensboro. But Winston-Salem had the Lawrence Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum, which was a fairly decent sized venue. I saw 9 Inch Nails there in like 1991 or 2 or something like that. No, it had lit in it, probably 94. Anyway, but so that's probably where that War Games match was.
Yeah.
But you know, the Asheville Civic Center where that Ric Flair Terry Funk match you're talking about is tiny. I mean, it's small, right?
Small
I mean,
place.
you've been there.
Yeah, you can get a great seat anywhere you sit, which is great.
Anywhere you sit. If you sit in the last row in the upper deck, you're still looking right down on the ring.
Yeah, I mean, just what a match. I mean, because we talked about them before, and this is when their feud was pretty like white hot during this time, because this is right when Ric Flair got off his trilogy of matches with Ricky Steamboat. So now his next opponent was Terry Funk, and like it just all out wars with these guys like nonstop every night. Just the cardio with them, it was crazy. Like even if you saw them in their matches on TV, like just imagine seeing them in a cage match live, especially that Terry Funk. And this guy don't give a shit. Ric Flair, you already know he bled all over the fucking thing.
Oh yeah, his blood's probably still in the Civic Center.
Exactly. So this is a really cool little trivia about some fun wrestling that was going on when this movie got released. Just think about it. We could have saw Ric Flair and Terry Funk, and then we would have gone to communion, and I would have been like, well, fuck, we should have brought some fucking heavy weed and drugs over here because I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, we should have got high before we watched this for sure.
I've been high the whole fucking night. I would have been like, oh yeah, bro, I feel you. Yeah, they come there and like they you mirror the I got it. I got you, Christopher Walken. I got you, bro. All right. Yeah, wear that pilgrim hat. It looks cool, I swear.
A pilgrim hat. That's great. Yeah.
So speaking of getting high and getting fucked up, Alison, you got a fun music for us. So what do we got going on for the metal?
I do. Speaking of getting high and fucked up, so this entire album was made by people who are high and fucked up. So I didn't think we'd ever talk about this band, but we are. So today I'm talking about Ministry. So we're kind of going back to metal in a way. This is their metal album, if you will. The album's called The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste, and it's one of my favorite albums, actually. I love this album a lot. And that's coming from a guy who doesn't really like industrial music a whole lot. I find the whole industrial scene kind of pretentious and annoying. And like most of the people that follow it are insufferable to me. But I do like this album a lot. It goes well with this movie, I think. Like, I think you could play this album and turn the sound off on the movie and get the same thing out of it. But it's heavy. Like this in this album, like Al Jorgensen, like the leader of Ministry, this was like one of the first times that he started using, like he was really influenced by thrash metal bands like Rigor Mortis, which we've talked about before on the show, to add like thrash metal type guitars to his music. So this is the first like heavy album they made, and then they kind of just did this from now on, but from this point on. But this came out November 14th, 1989, and it's really an art project in a way. Like I said before, they were all completely fucked up while they were making this record, and they didn't really write songs. They just kind of like sampled movies and like other music, and then kind of put it together. And then like one of them would work on part of it, and then another one go in by himself and work on part of it. And the only song that was recorded with more than one person in the studio at a time was the song "So What," which is like one of my favorite songs by them. But yeah, it's just kind of like this weird, like drug-addled album that's really heavy. It's somehow really heavy and really atmospheric at the same time.
Yeah.
So it just has this like it's something that's intended to be listened to all the way through, and it's just like this like really like just heavy experience. It's really hard to explain. Kind of like this movie's really hard to explain. This album is also really hard to explain. I don't know if you've ever heard it or if you got a chance to listen to it when I told you I was going to talk about it.
Yeah,
But it's a really really beautiful album. I love this record a lot.
yeah. Yeah, Ministry is okay. Like they've never been my favorite either. And like I said, I'm not the
Mm,
biggest industrial guy either.
yeah,
All right. But I always remember Ministry because I think like, for the 90s and stuff, they were pretty that's kind of like their peak, I would say, was like the 90s era
yeah.
with because they would go on tour with like bands like Nine Inch Nails and stuff all the time.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So they're kind of like
Yeah.
in that genre at the time. But I don't know. They still put out music. And I think they didn't did they put out some new stuff that sounds a little different than what they used to sound like.
Yeah, I don't really listen to any of their new music, but yeah, they're
Yeah.
still putting out music. Al Jurgensen I think he's the only original member, but they're still doing Ministry music. It's
Yeah.
just not something that I'm that interested in. But how would I describe this? So like this album that I'm talking about now was like you're talking about how they got big in the 90s. Like this is
Yeah.
like the beginning of that. Like
Yeah.
you were saying, 1989 is sort of the beginning of the 90s. So this album did really well for them. And then they did that album Psalm 69, which is like their big album, and they got huge when that came out. I remember seeing them at a big amphitheater in Atlanta. Like they were so big, and now they're playing like the Orange Peel, but they were huge at that time. But yeah, this album's kind of the beginning of that. I mean, the music up to Mine is a Terrible Thing to Taste is pretty good, and then Mine is a Terrible Thing to Taste is a masterpiece. And then after that, Psalm 69 is okay, but after that, they just kind of like I couldn't name a single song they did after that. But yeah, I really like this album a lot, and I feel like it's different than in an artistic way. It's different than anything else that they did. Like this is like their standout album, which is kind of ironic because they hate this album personally.
Oh, yeah?
Like they talk about how they hate this album because they were like fucked up the entire time they made it, and they were like all in the throes of drug addiction and that kind of thing. And then
Maybe
but
they
this album is incredible.
maybe they knew Communion was coming out. They're like, we gotta fucking catch up with them because we're really
Maybe.
trippy over there.
They gotta make a soundtrack to Communion.
Exactly.
So because it comes out the same week.
They're like, you see that Christopher Walken guy? That guy's fucked.
He's
Gotta go
fucked.
find him. All right. So let's talk a little about this Communion. Let's talk about who booked this shit, brother.
Yeah, who booked this shit?
So obviously we know the director, Whitley Strieber. Okay.
No, he wrote the book.
Yeah, the book. Sorry.
Yeah.
The writer of this story was Whitney. Okay.
Yeah.
And like I said at the beginning, we have done two of his movies that he actually directed. Okay. The Hunger and Wolfed It. Both great movies. Check them out in the archives, like I say. So this one was directed by Felipe Mora.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you have a lot of Felipe Mora stories there, Alison?
No, I don't. His name sounded really familiar, and I was trying to figure out where I've seen him before.
Yeah.
Or what movies I've seen that he directed before. He directed The Beast Within, which is a movie that we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
He also directed Howling 2 and 3, which are movies that we're going to be doing. But that's the only movies I can see. Yeah. That's the only movies I can see that I would think of when I think of him. So I don't know where I know his name other than directing this movie. Other than, those movies, of course. But, I don't know. So, no, I don't really have any Felipe Mora stories, I guess, because I can't. His name sounds familiar, but I can't really pinpoint anything else that he's directed.
So, yeah, I mean, we will get to him more.
Yeah.
Because we are going to be doing those Howland series, which I can't wait to do because that's be pretty fun. Werewolves are totally up my alley. So I can't wait to do those. Those will be coming in the near distant future. So everybody look out for those. But yeah, I wasn't too familiar with him either. But I thought his directing style was pretty good. Like, besides all the trippy shit in this movie, I kind of dug some of his directing style. I thought everything looked great, and it kind of reminded me at the beginning of like an X-Files episode in a little bit. And then you got this fucking guy Christopher Walken just being a maniac. I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
All right.
So you were, yeah, go ahead.
Well, there's a couple of funny stories. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah, that's what
Speaking
I
of,
want to hear.
so according to Felipe, all right,
Yeah.
he admitted apparently in commentary that he granted Christopher Walken more or less complete creative freedom of his portrayal of the Whitley character. No shit. Have you? Holy fuck. And allowing the actor to improvise his quirks and lines of dialogue freely.
So basically, Whitley
What?
Strieber also wrote the script for this, but they
Yeah.
just basically just threw his script out the window and told Christopher Walken to ad lib all of his lines, mostly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Christopher Walken at this time,
Yeah.
he was, I would say he was a pretty good famous actor around this time,
Oh
1989.
yeah.
Huh?
Absolutely. He was a famous actor at this time. It was
Yeah.
probably a big deal for them to get him for this movie, I would imagine.
Yeah. What did he do before this? Let me see if I can look it up. I know he did some pretty good stuff.
He was in The Deer Hunter.
Yeah, the Deer
Yeah,
Hunter.
he was in The Deer Hunter, which is probably what made him the most famous. He was in a movie called Dogs of War that was really good.
Yeah, that was a big one, I think it was.
He was in The Dead Zone.
Yeah.
I was in The Dead Zone. He played a bad guy in A View to a Kill. And then in 1986, he was in this really good James Foley movie called At Close Range, which I like a whole lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's mostly what I can think of that he had done.
Yeah, up to that point of communion.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think he was, he did the Catch Me If You Can, but that was in 2002. So, obviously, even
No, that was
after
later. Yeah.
even after this movie, like he became, I mean, he was in like a ton of 90s movies that are a huge success. Batman Returns, Pulp Fiction. I mean, just in fucking everything.
Yeah, I mean, he had won an Academy Award for The Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
So he's not a nobody. I mean, he's definitely famous.
Yeah. So.
And I'm sure Whitley was like super stoked that he wanted to play him until he actually saw this movie. I can't imagine how Whitley feels about this movie. I don't know if he.
Well,
I can't imagine. Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of that, Alison, since I was doing my research,
Yeah.
all right, and this is what I found out about our boy Whitney. All right, while serving as an executive producer, the author of the book, Whitney, whose experience served as the basis of the film.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was expressing some concerns about about our boy Christopher Walken's abilities in portraying him. All right. So when Whitley finally told Walken that he may be portraying him as a little too crazy, Christopher Walken replied, "Well, if the shoe fits."
That's what I was afraid of.
Fucking mic drop if I ever heard one. He called that motherfucker crazy. Holy shit. He's basically calling him out for his.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean,
that was
you're
the
right.
best line. That should have been in the fucking movie, brother. That should have been in the trailer. Watch Christopher Walken be a crazy maniac and call out the author for being even more crazy maniac.
I mean, I could just see, Christopher Walken like reading the script or even reading the book and saying, "I've got to play this guy, and this guy's fucking insane, so I'm going to play him insane."
Exactly.
Yeah. But I don't know. And to defend Whitley, though, nowhere in the book does he ever say that he was abducted by aliens. He never says that. He doesn't call them aliens. That word I don't think is even in the book, really. But he calls them visitors. He doesn't know where they came from.
Yeah.
But he has these descriptions of being like abducted by them, and like he tells a story that this lady in New York City that he'd met that they had also visited. He tells a story that she told him where they kind of implied that they're humans, but highly evolved humans.
Well, I heard
Like they talk,
a story too.
like they talk to her, and then she's like, I don't, and she's like, I don't know what you are, and then the visitor says, no, but you will. And then like, so they're like kind of these highly evolved humans from like either the future, or like he kind of implies that this is what happens after you die. Like when you die, you know, your soul or whatever becomes this thing, and then this alien, this gray.
You dance with puppet aliens when you die?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't remember that in the book either. Like I don't know where those little short aliens are come from. Although he does describe them, I think his son describes them as being like hobgoblins, which is why they may have made them that way. So they kind of describes them as hobgoblins in the book. So maybe
it kind of looked like something. It kind of like it looked like those Ewoks from Star Wars. Plus, it looked like something from the Dark Crystal at the same time.
Kind of, like a real evil Ewok.
Ones.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Anyway,
there is one thing I want to mention on that theory of like the inner meaning of what these beings were supposed to be.
Yeah.
So there's a theory about the movie. I don't know what this is actually called, but I can kind of describe it. Of what, at least what somebody while I was watching the movie was telling me. Okay, so I am no intergalactic person or nothing. I don't know about like theories of mind, whatever. But the theory behind this movie is the beings that visit Whitley are actually these beings that are like gatekeepers to reality.
Okay.
All right. So they're like gatekeepers of reality and stuff. Kind of like the in the Marvel they had the Watch guy.
Yeah, the watcher.
Him.
Yeah,
kind of like him, but these are beings that do that, and they flow through our minds. But then only sometimes you can like pick them up. There's only special people that can remember the experiences that they have with them and stuff. So I could be butchering that, but that's one of the theories that's kind of like about this movie is these are not necessarily aliens. They're like these there's like these very ancient creatures that are like gatekeepers of like time and reality. So
sure. Yeah, I mean that's that makes as much sense as anything.
Yeah.
But one thing for sure though, in a lot of ways, Whitley is correct in that he was sort of blacklisted after this book came out and after this movie came out, and he really did not get the kind of work that he got before. And a lot of people, and he's kind of implying that it's because he like broke the secret of these like visitors to the humans and that kind of thing. But he was right. Like before his career, before he wrote this book and after he wrote this book are completely different. Like he was a very famous author. Yeah. You know, he was not Stephen King famous, but he wrote the book that, Wolfen is based on. He wrote the book that Hunger is based on. He's written a bunch of books that he was a very successful author. And after Communion, that just kind of died. And now he does the Dreamland podcast, which is a really good paranormal podcast if anybody's out there who wants to listen to it. But and he's still doing the same shit, talking about the visitors and how they changed his life and talking to other people that they talked to and that kind of thing. But yeah, he's somebody that I really respect a lot in that he stood by his story the entire time.
Yeah. So a couple other funny stuff about the film. So the scene in which Whitley laughs when he sees the visitors was actually Christopher Walken's natural reaction at seeing the alien design and thinking they looked silly. Because we're gonna talk about it, but the first scene where the abduction happens, he's sitting in the fucking chair like we are doing. The whole lights, actually, my hotel's kind of like lit up like that room. You see,
right?
They got the fucking lights over here, and Christopher Walken. Normally you'll be like, "Oh shit, I'm getting abducted." This guy was like, I thought he was high during the fucking abduction or something. I was like, "Why the fuck are you laughing?"
So and that was his natural reaction to seeing the alien design. Yeah.
He was just laughing, and then I guess Felipe was like, "Oh, I like that," so he kept it in there. I guess he kept it in because he thought it made it look more disturbing. Right. I thought it was funny as hell when he did it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So a couple of things. Director Felipe had originally met author Whitley in London in the late 1960s. After Morrow made his film Death of a Soldier, 1986, in the 1980s, he ran into Whitley again they got to talking, and Whitney mentioned his recent experience. Morrow told Whitney that if he got around to writing about them, to let him know. So that's pretty much how Felipe became the director of this movie Communion. Is basically because he knew Whitney from past, and he really liked the story, so he wanted to work with them basically. All right. So a couple other stuff. The scene in which Whitney, Christopher Walken's, holds up the alien face mask over his face was improvised by Walken and was 2 minutes long, with Walken trying out multiple masks. But the footage only appears in the film for a few seconds. And I remember that scene too. I was like, this is some trippy shit right now. Like when he puts on the mask, I was dancing. I was like, what is going on here, brother? Like, am I supposed to like laugh at this? Am I supposed to be disturbed? Is this like one of those like things where I was supposed to get high and understand the meaning behind it?
Yeah.
I was confused.
This movie is so odd in that it is very funny, but it's not really supposed to be.
It's not kind
But it's all.
This is a
but it's
comedy,
also
brother. This is a real comedy, not that fucking terror vision we did last week and shit. This is a comedy, brother. I was laughing my ass off watching this movie.
Yeah, this movie is legitimately funny, but it's also strangely terrifying at the same time, and just how fucking weird it is, and like how like weird he acts all the time.
Everything, like even when he's being normal, he's still
yeah.
weird.
Even when he's
just
being
a
normal,
weird guy.
even when he's being normal, like when he's sitting in his chair writing his book or whatever,
Yeah,
and he's at his computer and he's just acting weird,
just rambling about whatever, bro.
Yeah,
like,
and he has
and
at one point he has a TV behind him that's just playing static.
Like what?
But, yeah, it's fucking bizarre. The whole thing is fucking bizarre.
So this is cool to me because this shows the times of this movie. So
Yeah.
the opening shots, we had a lot of New York City shots. Okay.
Right.
And apparently, nowadays we either have stock footage that they put in movies, or they would have some drone get all the fucking shots. But back in the day, we didn't got no drones. We didn't got no stock footage. So all this was done by an independent cameraman who was allowed to film around New York City at the time in a helicopter with a time-lapse camera. So that's pretty cool. They got all that footage from one guy just filming around New York City. So super cool.
So it's almost stock footage, except it was filmed for the movie.
It's still for the movie, but obviously, you can maybe he rents it as stock footage or something. I'm not sure if he owns the rights. I assume he does. But yeah, he filmed it for the movie, but he owns the. I would guess he would. That's a tricky one. I'm not sure who would own that piece of footage. I would assume that if this guy was smart, he would have rented it out to the movie so he can use it for other movies. So that's what I'm guessing, but I'm not sure. It doesn't really say if they bought the footage from him or if they used him and a contract to keep the footage.
Yeah, so, I'm sure that. Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say. Yeah, I'm sure that he just shot that footage to sell commercially, and then they bought it for this movie. Is what I'm guessing. Yeah.
So director Philip wanted star Christopher Walken involved in the casting on whoever played Annie, the wife of Whitney. It was Waltons who suggested Lindsay Cruz. And I was thinking maybe he just wanted to make out with her because, I mean, this girl was, I guess she was all right. Her character was a little strange too.
Yeah.
So apparently, yeah. So during the meeting between Whitney and Annie, with Janet Buffy in her office, over Duffy's table can be seen a book in yellow cover named First Contact. It's a 1988 history nonfiction book written by Bob Connolly and Robin Anderson about the discovery in 1930 of a flourishing native population inside of New Gingham's Highlands, where it has been considered as an uninhabited area, and who hadn't had previous contact with the outside world. So a little nod to, I guess, some of Whitney's favorite reading material, or Felipe's reading material.
Right.
So maybe foreshadowing what the movie was going to be.
Maybe.
So the filmmakers had 1 week in New York City for filming exteriors. During this time, director Felipe was more assigned as an assistant director, who turned out to be elderly and deaf. What? So director Felipe Moore was assigned, so he was assigned assistant director who was elderly and deaf. The deafness led to some difficulties, but things managed to work out for the week. Interesting. Must have been that New York City fucking fund getting people to work.
I guess so.
There's a bunch of stuff about this film. Let's see. All right. Let's see what this one. The film's production company, Pleasant Tree Films, Inc. and distributor. All right. Banakakan film distributor. I don't know if I said that right, but the second film distributor filed a lawsuit against Virgin Vision. All right. A MCEG for breach of contract, fraud, negligence, breach of financiary duty, bad faith, wrongful interference with contract relations and business relations. This arose when Virgin Vision failed to pay $1,558,000 payment that was part of a $3 million guaranteed for the film's domestic distribution rights. So they weren't paying up, brother. All right.
Right. Okay.
So also, Virgin and MCEG failed to give an accounting for Communion's theatrical and video revenues and failed to disclose the sales of Virgin to MCEG. On September 8, 1990, the court found in favor of the plaintiffs and awarded them a total of $155 million, including $100 million for punitive damage plus court costs. So basically, they were like, "You're not fucking with my money, brother. If you fuck around, we're gonna get your ass." And they got more back than what they even paid for the movie. So you gotta hold up to your end of the deal, man. That's just how it goes. You can't be scheming off the top.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
You gotta take part of the deal.
So pretty interesting, we see that every once in a while with movies having like rights fees and court fees and stuff like that. So it's, you could do one wrong thing, man, you can get sued for it. So especially if there's big money involved.
Yep.
So a couple things. Near the very beginning of the movie, Whitney is shown placing a painting or a lithograph over a wolf on a mantle. Strieber wrote the novel Wolfden, later also adapted into a film about Wolfden killers in New York City. So basically, that wolf picture was a homage to the Wolfen, which is a great movie. Everybody go out and watch that one.
Great movie.
Check out our review. That's actually one of my. That's actually what we did Werewolf Month on. I believe so. That's one of our November Werewolf Months movies. I think it's when we first did our first Werewolf Month about 2 years ago. So everybody check it out. It's a very fun movie. Let's see a couple other things. Steven Spielberg, he's back. All right, he's back on the Retro Blood. He was on Lights Out last week. Yep. Steven Spielberg and Universal Pictures and others tried to acquire the rights to the novel. All right, but Steinberg refused their offers. Imagine that, brother. Imagine Steven Spielberg doing this movie.
It would have been better. It would have been better.
I don't know, man.
I think
it'd have been too okay. This is a long discussion we can have.
Yeah.
He is good, but it'd be a little bit too PG for me. Like it wouldn't be wild, you know what I mean? Like Steven Spielberg doesn't do like trippy ass movies.
No, but that's it would have been the same.
No, it wouldn't be, brother. With Christopher Walken in there, are you kidding me? Steven, you can't be on because Steven Bill, he's a big time director guy. He would have told Walken what to do.
Yeah, he wouldn't have even had Walken in this movie.
Yeah.
Probably he would have gotten, one of his actors probably to do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of odd because that he would want to do this because it's too close to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Which is about alien abduction.
Well, he was
not about abduction, but it's about aliens.
I mean, he's done successful alien movies before, so he's just one.
Like E.T. It's another. Yeah.
So I mean, it's not too. Sometimes you got to go with you're good at, and maybe you just like the story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the book is very good. If you're into alien abductions, reading the book is worthwhile for sure. Because everything in it to me is pretty believable. I believe that what he's saying could have happened to him.
So apparently, I don't know if this is in the works yet or not, but apparently Whitney is trying to do a TV series about this actual story. So But I haven't heard any news
Like
about that coming out or not. But I guess he's trying to. He wants to do that.
like he wants to remake he
Communion,
wants to make it. Yeah, he wants to make
his book.
Communion
Yeah,
a TV series of the book. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. Which could work, I mean, parts of it could be very X-Files X. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It could be like certain elements you can take from that. You know what I mean? I could see, I could
Well,
see it, I could see it working out as a TV series. I could see it.
yeah, I can see that too. So
Uh,
the book as well is super influential though on aliens. Like it definitely influenced the X-Files. And everything that we think of when we think of like the big-eyed gray alien, Whitley invented that. Like that's the first time that had ever been shown before. Like the alien that's on the cover of the book. I don't know if you looked up the book cover, but it's basically the mask that he's wearing.
Yeah.
Or not a mask, but like the big-eyed alien in the movie. So that's the first time we ever saw those big-eyed gray aliens. Like that was created in that painting for the book cover. And it became just like a part of what we think of as aliens today.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy to think about because that alien look was used for the alien look in X-Files.
Exactly.
Almost like well, it wasn't, in the movie they were like a brownish color. And then in X-Files, they're more of a grayish color, but they were pretty similar looking to each other.
Mm.
Let's see what else we got over here. Just so we can get on here. Let's see. And so there was some hardship with Felipe adapting the story to the film. All right, with understanding that Whitney would handle the writing without interference, while Mora would have direction without interference. So Steinberg chose to have the film produced independently, as he feared having a major studio adapt his experience would turn into a special effects heavy horror film rather than a character piece. Which, is not wrong about that. Especially during this time, I would say that probably would have been true. Okay. So during the production, it was reported that on set, some of the members of the crew would crack jokes at Steinberg's expense about the autobiography aspects of the story. And Steinberg said of these incidents, some people who work on movies are nice people. Some people who work on movies are jerks. We had the usual mix of the crew. So I guess people were cracking some jokes about his experience in his book, thinking he's a wacko.
I'm sure they were.
Yeah. So, but some fun stuff about the movie. But I say, let's dive into this trippy experience. Hopefully, I'll finish some of my beer and I'll be in the right mood. I'm definitely not high enough to watch the movie, but I might be a little tipsy enough to review it. So I say, let's do it. Let's get into Communion.
Yeah, let's do it.
I can't get out of this! Abdul, there's a group that meets. Group? People have seen the same sort of things you have.
Which group of aliens abducted you?
Bob, we are not victims. We are participants.
I don't recall them being human.
I got you got my baby screaming!
You people, you sit there waiting for one big surprise.
All right. So we start off seeing some New York City.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The glowing lights of New York City. We see a character who looks awfully like Christopher Walken. Because it is.
Because it is.
Last time I saw him was in Dune #2, and now he is fucking 8,000 years younger.
Yeah, this is 40 years ago, almost.
Right?
35 years ago.
So in my notes, he wakes up to soft music and he freaks out. You ever wake up to soft music there, Alison? Just freak out?
I freak out nearly every morning that I'll wake up, to be honest with you.
The soft music?
Yeah.
So we see City. I can just imagine you waking up like Christopher Walken because he was there like this. He was sleeping. He's like, "Who's there?" And then it's like soft music in the background, like, and he's all freaking out. Like, what is going on here? Can we put some intense music or something?
That's pretty much after every morning for me. I'm just like waking up and like, who's there? What the fuck's going on?
Oh shit! Did I get probed?
Yeah, did I get anal probed?
All right, so now we see. So Christopher Walken's character is Whitney. All right, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Whitley
Strieber.
Whitley, brother. All right. Quickly. All right. We have too much fun on here. So Whitley over here, all right, and his family are walking the streets of New York. For some reason, then we cut to a scene where Whitney is looking like a pilgrim. I'm not really sure why. I didn't know if it's Thanksgiving or not. But he looks like a pilgrim.
I assumed that it was, but now that you mention it, they don't say that anywhere. I mean, maybe he just was dressed that way. No.
That was his style, brother. That's the Christopher Walken style. Big ass glasses with a pilgrim hat. Fuck it. All right. So he starts to read to himself, and I'm just like, okay, I said this. I looked over to Bethany, and I was like, this fucking guy creeps me out. I don't know what it is. He's like the accent. He's like, oh yeah, I'm reading my book over here. Yeah, look at me, I'm watching. Look at the stars over here. I'm doing this. Yeah, I'm in New York. I'm like, fuck, bro, just calm it down a little bit, man. You're freaking me out. All right.
It's like he's just constantly like on coke.
No, but it's not like that. It's not like that speedy coke. It's like that mellow coke. You know what I mean? But he just rambles all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So I also wrote during this time he goes on a 1980s computer and starts doing 1980s TikToks.
Yeah, that computer was amazing. That with that Zenith monitor, that was awesome.
And then the thing breaks and he gets all pissed out about it. He's like, "Don't crash. All right? I thought you agreed. I was doing great and you crashed." All right, so now the family gets home. He scares them because he just Christopher Walken. All right. And then now he's basically saying he had a bad day because the duck didn't agree with him. The computer didn't agree with them. You know that thing where I can't do the accent. But you know how like New Yorkers, they're like when they complain that like they sound like Italian grandma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what he was basically saying.
He's doing that. Yeah.
He's doing
exactly.
That style. Okay. I've never been the best at the New York accent. All right. So I'm not going to pretend to be, but that's basically what he was sounding like. All right. And then Chris Walken also has like his own like unique accent. It's like what do you think it is? It's kind of like a Boston and New York put in the one, but it's not like heavy on, it's not like heavy on either. It has like his own. I think that's why he's been such a very creative actor because he really does have his own acting style that you don't really see from a lot of people. Like it's like you could tell it's like him on those movies. He has like his own style. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean he's very like he's unique, right?
Yeah, very unique. Yeah.
Like there's nobody like him, and like whatever, and he plays almost every role kind of the same way.
Yeah.
In a way, or he did from this point on, like he did the Christopher Walken thing.
Yeah. We're gonna laugh about it because it's like funny, but it is really good. Like he is a great actor, and we're not talking shit about the guy. I actually really like his acting style. I just think it's just unique and different. All right, and then in this movie, it was just like it's just different. I would say.
Yeah.
All right.
He also, on a side note, if I'm not mistaken, he also at one point, I believe in the 90s, wrote a play about Elvis, and he starred in the play as Elvis.
I like, oh my God.
So I
Where
can't
is that?
imagine what that's like.
Holy shit. Where the fuck is that? And where's that hiding from us? Golly.
But yeah, I can't even imagine what that's like. Anyway, continue
Yeah.
on.
So basically, he's
Continue
having a
on.
very bad day.
Yeah.
Okay. Super New York during this time. All right. And he said the duck is cooking him, not him cooking the duck. And he's been trying to write his novel. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then they keep saying, are we still going to the country? Are we still going to the country?
Mhm.
I was like, well, where the fuck is the country at? It's their log cabin that's just outside of New York. So is that what, Long Island? Is Long Island the country?
Maybe to them it probably is, but I can't
Yeah.
remember I can't remember if the cabin's on Long Island or if I think it's up like just out of the city, like
Yeah,
in the
out of the
counties
city,
outside
yeah.
New York City.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't really explain that very well in the movie, I don't think. But yeah, he had bought that cabin so they could go on vacation.
Now
And
is Whitney and shoot, is he from New York?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
well,
Gotcha.
he was living in New York at the time. I don't know that
Gotcha.
he's actually from New York.
Apparently got some good drugs.
In fact, I'm pretty sure he's from like Texas originally.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I believe he was living in New York at the time because he was, working in the film industry because he was writing novels that they were making a bunch of books or writing a bunch of books or making movies out of.
Yeah. So during this time, Whitney thinks that his computer turned off on him because his book's going to be no good. And the wife's like, oh, you're always saying that kind of stuff. And while this is happening, the duck that he was cooking burns.
Yeah.
All right. So it's burning. All this smoke is coming out. By the way, they are living in a New York apartment, but they do have a country house in the country. All right. So he's trying to open up windows. This is when we get the character of Alex and Sarah. They're coming over. They're friends. They're going out to the country with them. All right. But he's trying to open up a bunch of windows. They all saying, are we still going out to the country? They keep saying that over and over. Firefighters randomly show up. They said, he just says, oh, it's just a duck burning. The firefighter's like, okay, well, we've been here before, so this is like your second warning. If you come back here, we'd like to give you a fine. And by the way, let your wife cook.
Burn.
Fucking burn. So then they all get to the country cabin, and the alarm system is not working. So this guy's having a day. Their son, his name is Andrew. He is looking around the cabin. He freaks out because he sees a spider. They all start joking around about the spider. And then I do like the line when he says, oh, I'm glad this is not my room. That was a good one.
Hilarious.
And the kid's like, well, maybe I didn't see a spider. And then I could not believe this line. I was like, what are we doing here? So we have flirtatious Christopher Walken talking to his bride over here.
Yep.
Saying, can you just talk dirty to me? Just say erection. Just say erection. She's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Are you kidding me? I say way more fucking crazy shit talk than erection. All right.
I think this scene.
Go ahead.
I think this scene would have been fine if Christopher Walken wasn't delivering these lines.
And then he puts his glasses on, and like total improv. Everything was total improv in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and then we cut to Alex, the friend, talking to his wife. And I don't know if the audio wasn't working, but I could barely hear what this fucker was saying. I had to turn that shit up to 100, and I could barely still hear what this guy was saying. All right, so what I got out of it, Alex doesn't like the country because there's a bunch of wolves, and he's scared of the wolves. Okay.
Okay.
So then this is when they're all sleeping. This is when the keypad is doing its own gimmick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see the keypad doing its own gimmick, and all the lights turn on. Kind of like in my hotel. You see all these lights right here, especially this part right here. You see that part right there?
Yeah, that's what it was like in the movie.
Yeah. See, I'm getting abducted right now by aliens because all that light right there. So that's what happens. All the light comes here, right? And then like Christopher Walken just wakes up. All right. And like he wakes up and then he sits down on the chair and he's like, who's there? Who's there? And then he sees an alien out of the corner, right? And he starts laughing. Or like smiling, like like that. Like, can I do it? I like that. And he's like,
Perfect.
smile like that. And then like, everybody else starts waking up. All right. And then like nothing happens. And then they all wake up the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically Alex and his wife Sarah are freaked out, and they're like,
Yeah.
"No, something happened last night. Like there was like these lights and shit." And Christopher, it's like it's just a dream. Oh, you guys be okay. You know what I mean? You don't do. I'm Christopher Walken. Come on, now you'd be fine. And the guy's like, "No, man. Like I need to get out of here. Like there was some weird shit that was happening in this country place. Don't worry about it. Drink a beer. This is a Christopher Walken." All right. And then like this guy's like, "No, take me home." So it's like,
Yeah.
I'll take you home. So then they come home because he was freaked out about the experience.
Yeah. So in the
Uh-huh.
book, he uses that as proof in a way that he's telling the truth, because he was like the last person to experience it. Like, everybody else saw the lights outside, and he thought that they were full of shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they go back to New York because Alex and his wife get freaked out.
Yeah. So then it's kind of like around Halloween time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And we're seeing some scenes of Christopher Walken in a Halloween mask on his computer doing 1989 TikToks, writing a novel. And I swear I saw his face on there. So he's recording his face, talking about his novel in his underwear.
Yes. Well, that's what you do, right?
I'm not high for this movie. And we just began. Right?
Yeah, we're still at the beginning. We haven't even experienced aliens yet.
So he's rambling. Well, we kind of did.
Well, kind of a little bit.
We saw one alien at the country.
Mm.
You're in the country, Alison. Do you see aliens out there all the time?
Well, not on a regular basis.
Okay.
But I know they're around.
You need some of that Christopher Walken drugs, and I guarantee you'll have a great alien experience.
Yeah. Just take a tab of LSD and then just welcome the ride.
All right. So he's rambling about Annie and the kid. And then he puts on this. Apparently, they're going to like a Halloween party. So he puts on an elephant nose, and they go to the Halloween party. Okay. They have a Halloween cake. I wrote that in my notes because I like Halloween cake.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Whitley. All right.
Whitley.
He's filming it all. So he's also a big filmer. Like he likes to film on his camera. All right. And then him and Andrew, he basically takes Andrew downstairs. And I like the shots of this because I'm a huge Halloween and jack-o'-lantern guy.
Yeah.
So Whitley was trying to take Andrew and show him a jack-o'-lantern by a creepy hallway. So they're creeping up to the jack-o'-lantern, and then some girl in a Halloween mask scares them because the way that we see it, that he sees it, it's like a demon creature. It's like one of the alien creatures that we'll find out that was during his abduction experiment. It was with this. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, I know we didn't mention it, but during the whole flash sequence at the country, I know for a fact Whitley got abducted, but I'm not sure if anybody else got abducted. Like I'm not sure because it's weird because when the flashing lights of the country scene happens, we see Whitley kind of being taken away a little bit, but we see Alex wake up and see what's going on with the lights. We see Andrew wake up what's going on with the lights. Annie, she just sleeps through everything like I would have done. All right. So, but she kind of wakes up towards the end. But I'm not sure if they all got abducted or if just Whitley at this point of the movie.
It's just Whitley at this point. In the book, I don't believe he talks about anybody else getting abducted. He only talks about his own experiences.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But he does say that they all saw it though. The spaceship.
That's probably what it was. So he got abducted, but they only saw it. Okay.
Right. They saw the light. Yeah.
So the point of this story is he freaks out on this girl wearing a Halloween mask, and it's just a little 13-year-old girl, but he freaks out on her hard, like what the fuck and shit. All right. And basically Annie takes him back home and says, like, what's wrong with you? It's a Halloween mask. You scared of Halloween mask? Huh? This girl's super New York too. You scared of Halloween mask? Huh? You not a man? All right. Because what he saw, like I said, was not the Halloween mask. He saw the alien, one of the aliens that abducted him. All
Yes.
right. And now, like, he doesn't really know what to think. He's like, oh, I'm in the doghouse now. All right. So the wife is talking, how old are you? You're having trouble writing. That's probably why you've been acting like this. Halloween mask are fighting you out now. She's like really getting on to him. All right. And all right. And she's like,
Mhm.
he's like saying like, she's basically saying, why would you be scared of a child wearing a Halloween mask? Okay. And he's just
Yeah.
basically saying, I don't know. I don't really know what happened anymore about it. So, and he kind of admits that he's been having some nightmares. And he can't really say what he saw for sure. Okay.
Hmm.
So next morning, uh, Whitley is on his computer again, and he comes down. He falls to the floor, saying he has no idea what he likes anymore, and he likes his place being all messy. All right, and he kind of gets mad at the wife, and then he calms her down a little bit. They kind of like have a little fight, and he's basically saying he's just very frustrated right now at this point of life. All right, so this is when he's laying on the floor. All
Hmm.
right, and he says he's scared. He's scared because he doesn't know what's going on in his own head. All right, he can't trust his own
Yes.
head right now. And then he's like, "Hey, should I be worried? Because that's not good. If somebody tells you what you can't do in your own head." And he's like, "Oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine." So now we're at Andrew's play. We hear all these kids singing. Andrew's looking sad, and it's Christmas time.
Hmm.
And Andrew asks, "Why are we all sad?" All right, and Whitley's like, "Oh, we're not sad. I've had a couple of trouble writing lately and stuff, but Santa's coming and stuff, and we're going to be going back to the cabin in the wintertime."
Hmm.
So basically, right now, I guess Andrew, as a kid, can pretty much notice that his dad is a little off ever since the country experience.
Right.
So
Yeah. So basically, in the book,
yeah,
he doesn't know about the visitors yet. He
yeah,
doesn't really find that out until he goes under hypnosis with Bud Hopkins,
hmm
who's not in this movie. But he's basically just thinks he's going crazy
yeah,
at this point. He just doesn't know what's wrong with him.
yeah. And that's kind of like here too. Like we saw the aliens as an audience,
Mm.
but he nobody knows what's really going on at this point. All right.
Right.
So they're playing in the snow. They all sit around the Christmas tree. The lights flicker a little bit. Whitley picks and laughs creepily. That's why I wrote my notes. All right. We had the house at nighttime. They said they had a great Christmas, just like before. You got sad. That's what the kid said. I was like, damn, that's a burn. All
Yeah.
right. And then they thank him for the bike, and he's like, oh, thanks Santa for the bike. So now Andrew goes to sleep. They go to sleep too. And then the house is at nighttime. The keypad thing that was freaking out before freaks out again. All that noise
Hmm.
starts. Lights come up like you see right here on my screen.
Yep.
All right. Um, they this ship arrives too. So we get like a little 1989 ship getting there.
Mm.
It ain't no Independence Day ship, but it's a little one.
No, it's a little one. Yeah.
So they take him away, which is actually kind of a funny scene because like they're like tiny little they kind of like Ewoks. They come in there and they pick up him and they drag him away. And like Christopher Walken's like, "Oh, you're taking me away. What are you doing? I'm Christopher Walken." All right.
In the book, he calls them blue doctors.
Yes. He said something about blue over here, but I don't know if he called
Yeah.
them I don't know if he called them doctors, did he?
I don't remember if I don't think they say that in
I
the
think
movie, but in the book he
yeah,
calls them the
yeah,
Greys and the Blue Doctors, and there's another one too, but I can't remember what
yeah.
it is off the top of my head.
And it was weird this scene too because while he's getting taken away, the wife wakes up. It looks like she's in like sleep paralysis at this time, and
Hmm.
then she doesn't remember any of this though.
Right.
So basically, this is when they I put in my list. They probe him. Yeah,
Nice.
buddy. So they also they put like a needle, like a shot in his neck. All right.
Mhm.
So next morning, everything's just fine. He wakes up fine and everything. And then he asks, in very Christopher Walken style, "Was there an owl here last night in the window?" And she's like, "No, why would there be an owl?" It's like, "I don't know. I had some wild dreams and stuff." All right. And they talk more about the dreams. So then Whit and his family, they walk outside. And this is when Whitley's talking about bears, how grizzly bears. We get a whole grizzly bear speech of how they work. For some reason, Whitney stops and says he doesn't feel good. His head's pounding him now, and he's hurting. And she sees that there's a bite mark because that's where the needle went. All right. And he's like, "Oh, you guys go ahead. My head hurts too much to go." And they're like, "Oh, it's fine. We could just make it here." He's like, "No, I got to go back home." So he just leaves and goes back home. And they all think it's weird because he's like losing energy. He's not really, obviously we could see that this Whitley character is a very
Yeah.
energetic guy. All right. So it's very weird for him not to be energetic. So now we have him looking at the sky. We hear some alien music. That's where I wrote my notes.
Yeah.
Whitney talks to his wife about the night. Asks if she's scared, and she says, I like this one because it reminds me of Annieville. She says, "Well, maybe there's something wrong with the country house."
Maybe.
That's a totally new direction we're going here, brother.
Yeah.
One direction at a time.
Yeah.
All right. It's either aliens or the house is haunted. I can't do both.
We can't do both. We can't have
Alright.
both in the same movie.
Yes. So, he says no. But he's basically like saying like, no, there's something wrong with the house. Okay. And he's basically saying like, he cuts a couple jokes. All right. And so basically, like, he's cutting a couple jokes and stuff, and then eventually they go to sleep. But what's going on now is the Whitney. I don't say Whitley. I don't know why I keep saying Whitney. The Whitley character right now is starting to get a little paranoid because he thinks something is stalking him, kind of like a poltergeist. Okay. So that's probably why Annie brought up the house, because maybe they think every time he comes to this cabin, there might be some sort of poltergeist after him. All right. So basically,
Right.
he hears a noise again at nighttime. Whitley does. So this time he goes and grabs a shotgun. Okay. And then he starts going around the whole house because the lights have turned back on, like kind of like in my room over here. Okay. So he's grabbing the shotgun, he's walking around the house, and he eventually goes into one of the dining rooms, and then he sees out of his like imagined mind, I guess, one of the alien creatures, and he shoots it with a shotgun. And then he looks and his wife is walking, and then he almost shoots her with the shotgun as well, too. And it's this really good, intense moment when he realized what he almost done, and they linger on it. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, that was a pretty cool scene. I like that.
That was a good scene. Yes.
Did that actually happen in the book where he tried to shoot his wife with the gun?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he feels like he's kind of going crazy, and he starts to like he thinks they're in the house.
Yeah.
The apartment, and then so he gets his gun, and then he almost shoots her. Yeah. So there's a similar scene to that in the book. Yes.
So then the wife, after just saying, "I'm gonna call San Freeman," which is their doctor, apparently. All right. So Whitley said he didn't know it was her. All right. And Whitley and the doctor check on his bite mark. All right. And the doctor's like, "When did you get this?" He says, 2 days ago. He tells Doc that he's been dragged out, and he feels like so basically, this is when he kind of admits to the dog, like, I feel that I got dragged out of my cottage, and it wasn't by humans. It was like some sort of like bug insect looking creature guy.
Yeah.
All right. It basically, he's trying to say it wasn't human that took me out, that I can just remember in my brain about why I got this mark on my neck. And he's like, "Am I having a midlife crisis?" And I was like, "That's the lamest midlife crisis ever. You're supposed to get
Let's say, yeah,
besides you doing maybe cocaine in this movie, there's no midlife crisis going on.
No,
you're getting abducted, brother. Okay. All right. So then he's saying he's also saying like, I just feel like these small kids like took me, and they put me in this small little room, and they stuck me with a needle. All right. And I haven't just told my wife that yet because I don't know if this is real or not. And then the doc recommended him a shrink to talk to. All right. So Whitley comes back home, said, the wife asked what he was doing, said he was taking a walk, and he did talk to Sam. He says hi. All right, and then Sam recommended him to go to a shrink. All right,
Yeah.
some woman doctor. All right. So now, okay. So he said he's going to a shrink who does red cases. Okay. Red
Okay.
cases I guess red cases mean like paranormal cases.
I get maybe
I
that's
guess.
what that means.
So he said the mark on his neck, he feels like he was given a shot, but the wife's not sure either. Asked who saw, so Whitney said he saw someone come for me that night. All right, and he feels like they took him somewhere and they gave him a small shot, and he said like they were blue of skin. All right, he said they had big eyes. All right, and they weren't human. And the wife's like, yeah, I don't believe you either. So basically, because who would believe that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure, like in his book, Whitney was been like, yeah, like there's this thing on my neck. I've been acting strange lately, but the only thing I could think of that my brain's telling me is I felt like I was dragged out of that night on Christmas Eve or Christmas or after Christmas. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but
Yeah,
he
I think
he
it's
was
the day after
the
Christmas.
day after. Yeah, so he got
Probably.
dragged out. He felt like he got dragged out by these alien creatures and got shot in his
Mhm.
neck, and that's the only thing he can come up to because in his mind that's what happened. That's how he got that shot in his neck.
Right.
And he can't explain anything else. He can't explain it of what else could
Right.
happen. And she thinks he's seeing things.
Yes.
Well, maybe Christopher Walken's seeing things, but not this Whitney. He don't do that.
No. Whitley's way more normal than Christopher Walken, which is saying a lot, really.
All right, and then like he's like, and then he was saying like, I've just been trying to tell you this for a while, so he's glad he got it off the chest.
Mhm.
All right, so they go and him and the wife go. So they go and they talk about the wife said this is a bad material. She thinks okay. So basically now the wife's getting on defensive.
Mhm.
She's all like, okay, well, I don't know if I believe you and stuff. And this is some bad material you got going on here. This is like some magazine writing. Okay.
Yeah.
Who you been working on stuff? Are you on drugs? Huh? You got girls?
Are you on drugs?
Do you like certain ages? I'm like, where did this come from? All right. So now Annie puts Andrew to bed. All right. And they start arguing some more and they tell him to go to sleep. All right. And then this is when Andrew asked Annie if God is real. All right. And I guess she says she hopes so. Okay. But no, and then he's like, well, does anybody know for sure if God's real? And she says, well, it's like, well, they don't know for sure because they've never seen him. It's like, well, are we alone? All right. And then this is saying, like, if we're alone, why did this blue doctor, all right, scare me? And why didn't God take him away? So I guess we're made to believe at this point, and you can say this is in the book or not, Alice, if you remember. It seems like the Andrew kid seen the blue doctors, the blue creatures before. Like he
definitely
them.
did. Yeah, Andrew is a real person. That's his real son, and he's worked with Whitley on the Communion Project since then. So yeah, he definitely saw them, and he says they're real.
Okay, yeah, this movie too. Like obviously he's a young kid, so he doesn't know what he's seen or not. But he's basically confirming that he has seen these creatures before. Okay.
Yes.
And there is reason why, and they explain that towards the end of the film, of why this guy sees these creatures, which we'll talk about here. See. All right. So then he's also asking the Annie, like, hey, can I have my dad's dreams? And she's like, she doesn't know. So this is when Annie and Whitney, they go visit the shrink, Janet. All right. And she's asking if they're comfortable being there. They said yes, and that's a good sign. So she asks normal questions. Do you drink? Do you do drugs? All right. And he says, no, I'm way too old for that. And I was like, that's bullshit.
That's bullshit. Clearly, Christopher Walken does a lot of drugs.
Don't lie to me, brother. You definitely ain't old for that. All right. So then he's talking his delusions. He's laughing about these the needles in his head. All right. And he's laughing about the alien needles and the rectal probes. Okay. All right, so they basically describe what happened the first night of the encounters with Alex and Sarah getting scared and leaving the next day. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Whitney says he got you know, so he basically he thought it was a burglar, basically, in the
Yes.
house. Because the janitor's like, well, you didn't investigate what they got so scared of. And he's like, well, I just assumed it was a burglar. And Alex was already kind of scared of the country, so that's why he left. So he says, no, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really investigate it. He's like, I have no idea. And then he starts getting defensive, even though he agreed to go. He's like, I don't know why I'm here. I'm Christopher Walken. I don't know why I'm here. All right. So then he says, I remember there being a lot of lights. All right. Janet wants, and then Janet's like, okay, well, I think we should hypnotize you because that might make you remember better. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And he says, okay, if you decide to do it, just let me know. Okay. And then it's back, and now we have Whitney and Annie talking. He says, I'm not going to let that fucking crazy bitch stick me in nothing. I'd rather get something to stick in my eye before she touches me.
No.
All right. And then the wife basically, they go back and forth, and she basically convinces him to do it. Okay. All right.
So I was gonna say this is similar to the book, but
Yeah.
he does get hypnotized, and then that's where he starts telling the story.
Yeah.
And another UFO researcher named Bud Hopkins, who's a fairly famous UFO researcher, was recorded it. There are documentaries as well, like one's called The Visitors, where Whitley goes back to the cabin. So he had to sell the cabin after communion because he lost most of his money because he kind of just didn't really get a lot of work. So he ended up having to sell the cabin. But he in the documentary he goes back to the cabin to visit the new owners. But anyway, so in this documentary, they play some of the tapes from these hypnosis sessions, and they're fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Like it's terrifying to listen to, like what that was like him just like screaming and stuff like that. So, but yeah.
Interesting.
So anyway, so he finally agrees to get hypnotized,
So really
and
gets
that's where we're at now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where we're at. So basically he's getting hypnotized and he falls asleep. And this is when he can remember this is the first encounter he's going over through. So it happened on October 4th. And
Right.
she's like, what do you see? He's like, well, it was a busy day. I was writing and stuff. Alex and Sarah came over. He couldn't get the alarm system to work in his house. He put on a fire to go to bed. He woke up at night, he saw something past the window light, something in the window. He saw it pass. It was a big light. All right. He said he says like, oh, I just want to sleep. I don't want to think about it. All right. He's seeing somewhere that doesn't look like this. Seeing somewhere that doesn't look like this. Get out. And then he's
Mm-hmm.
thinking, why him? All right. And then I put in my notes, they take him to some sort of Star Wars creature room. All right.
That's a good description of it, though. A Star Wars
Uh,
creature room.
They show up in the middle. All right. These creatures are showing up. All right. In the middle. And then he kind of freaks out and saying his boy is dead. All right. So while all this is happening, we get clips of like lights like this. And then we get the aliens taking them, and then we see some of their spaceship inside and everything.
Right.
Okay? And then he wakes up. He's like, I'm not hypnotized now, am I? He's like, no. It's like, oh, those are just bad dreams. All right. He says, these are bad dreams, bad state, but it's over. That's all in the past. And so he leaves and
Yeah.
he gets on the bus. All right. So he's seeing this girl cry for some reason, saying she's lost, and could he help her, give her some directions to the bus? And he basically doesn't want to talk to this crying girl, so he leaves. And now he's seeing the alien creatures all around him, like they're
Mm-hmm.
stalking and taking over his mind now. And they all look like bugs too, so I guess the bug ones really freak him out.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's the other description. He described some of us looking like bugs. I forgot the blue doctors, the grays, and the bugs is what he called them. Yeah.
And then Whitney tells all his bugs that he's seeing they're all in for a big surprise, which doesn't really come to true. So Alex is back. He's back. He meets with Whitney at this diner, asks if him, and tells him what happened, and he recalls something else. these blue men's and stuff. Did you see any of these blue stuff and everything? And then Alex gives him some Russian story that I couldn't really understand.
Right.
All right. And then this Russian story was about trolls, like little men.
Right.
So Alex thinks that a group of trolls entered the house that night and tried to take Whitley away.
Yes.
Whitney's like, that's crazy. Why would trolls take me away? I'm talking about blue alien creatures from the outer space, and you're talking about trolls?
Yeah, because that's not crazy at all.
Oh, yeah. All right. He's like, you're crazy.
It's
man.
so good. It's so
Huh.
good.
All right. And then, because basically, he didn't really say that, but he should have. He basically said,
Right.
no, it's not that. It's something else. He was a lot nicer than I was.
Right.
All right. So this is when Whitley and Alex come back home. And the first thing he says from leaving his family at the hospital, he's like, oh, I got any calls? No, you didn't. No, you
No,
didn't.
you
Nobody.
did not get any calls.
First,
Nobody calls you.
First of all, Whitley, I got a couple of questions for you. First of all, it doesn't look like you write jack shit. It looks like you're just hanging out in your underwear all day, just talking to yourself on the computer. This is 1989. You can't do that yet. How the fuck is this guy making money? At
Right.
first, I first thought he was streaming on Twitch. You know what I mean? But he wasn't.
No, because that didn't exist yet.
Exactly.
He
So I
was-
don't know
he was-
what he did. This guy had a apartment and a house. Fucking
Yeah.
God. And he didn't do jack shit. He just sit around in his underwear all day.
Yeah, he was a fairly wealthy to do guy at this point.
Yeah. So basically, the shrink is there, Janet. And she's like, okay, there's like this group of people you probably want to talk to. And I was like, don't tell me it's going to be a fucking alien abduction group. And I was like, holy fuck. Oh, fuck. Sign me up, brother. That'd been awesome. It's like, what part did they probe you in? I'm going to know.
But he also thinks they're full of shit, though.
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. But he goes to it. Like, we'll find out.
He goes to it. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah. So basically, there's a couple things. Okay.
Mm.
First, before he goes to the alien group,
Mm-hmm.
he thinks there might be something wrong with his temporal load. His tempo load. You know what I mean? The little part of your brain. And I'm curious,
Yeah.
is that in the book too? Did that guy get his tempo load checked out or something?
He went to a doctor to get a bunch of medical tests to find out if he was like losing his mind, if there was something that was physically making him go crazy. Yes.
Okay. Because in this one, he's sleeping right, and then he has like, and then like no shit, he has like Freddy Krueger nightmares with the people doing Ring Around the Rosie and shit. And
yeah,
you know,
I don't think that's in the book, but yeah.
Maybe remember the Freddy thing, and the guy looks up in the air.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what happened. It was like a version of the Freddy nightmares on here. I was like, oh shit, okay. It basically what it's saying is at an early age, Whitney had an encounter with the alien that he forgot about. Okay. And then the doctor wakes him up saying the test is negative and he doesn't have that disease. Okay. Now Andrew's he goes back, and then Andrew, the kid, saying he's having trouble sleeping without his dad. Okay. And he said Andrew said like and he said Andrew had a dream about a skull staring at him and some big eye things, and he thinks they're real. Okay. And they're kind of scaring him. All right. And then during this, we have a couple cutscenes. Janet reads a book to soft music, and a door opens really quickly for no reason.
Right.
Annie makes a call to Janet for no reason, and now Annie wants to get hypnotized for no reason because we have to keep the movie going. It's 2 hours, bro.
Right.
Okay.
We got to fill 2 hours, man.
So now Annie's getting hypnotized about the Christmas and Alex and Sarah. She said it wasn't a peaceful. Okay, like it wasn't a peaceful, but it was like a party atmosphere out there. Then she starts freaking out a little bit. All right, you're not supposed to do this or something, says somebody else. All right. They all, and then like, I guess during this hypnotized segment, I guess a little bit of Annie, she did remember she woke up there in that one time and she was trying to rescue Whitley from being taken by the Star Wars Enochs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Did I say that right?
Yeah, sure.
The
Close enough.
the blue creatures.
Yeah.
I guess she remembered a little bit of that, but she can't make out exactly what it is. All
Mhm.
right. So now we've got a cutscene again of Whitley and Annie moping around Andrew's room. Okay. So they're moping around and they're thinking, well, maybe we should hypnotize Andrew. It's like, nah, we can't do that. He's too young.
Mhm.
So Whitley agrees to go back to get hypnotized this time. For real this time. All right.
Mhm.
All right. So now Whitney's go back to get hypnotized. He's asking what he had for supper. All right. And what happened that night of the gun incident. And he says there was somebody in the house, those people. He didn't know what was he didn't know that was her. Okay. And he says like he has a gun and then he's going further into sleep. Okay. So now apparently he now is such in a deep hypnotized sleep that he is talking to his dream version self. Have you ever done that, Alison?
Mhm.
Have you ever talked to your dream version self?
I've had some dreams where I wasn't sure if I was awake or not, but not
Oh yeah.
exactly like this. No,
I've had a lot of dreams, but I don't think I've ever talked to myself in a
I've
dream.
never talked to myself in my dream. No,
But that's what he's doing right now, brother. He's talking
but
to
I was gonna
himself.
say, but I'm not Christopher Walken, so
It's true. Oh my God. Just imagine what he had to take to
Yes.
see himself in this fucking. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he's seen his house. Okay. There's like this toy thing that looked like a toy.
Hmm.
Was that in the book?
I can't remember.
This toy running around? Okay. So a toy thing comes out with these little people. All right. We see him getting taken. We see the needle in his head.
Hmm.
We see the small alien room. He gets probed and stabbed.
Yeah,
And then he starts dancing with and moving around creepy like he's super high with the alien creature staring at him.
because he probably is super high.
And then he kisses one.
As if it couldn't get any weirder. Then he kisses one of the aliens.
And then he wants to stop. Willie says, I want to stop here. And then he's like, I'm naked. All right. And then like then he's talking. Can we talk this over? That's what he's telling the aliens. All right. And then like I guess this is I guess like this is when he gets probed.
I
All
guess
right.
so.
And he's like, how dare you? I'll kill you. All right.
Yeah.
And then I put my notes. We see Alien, Star Wars Alien, and Predator Alien looking around. Then we get the mask next to Whitney's shirtless. And then I put in my notes, I'm not high enough to understand this movie right now. That is in my direct notes from this scene.
Yeah, this is where it kind of goes off the rails.
Can
Like
you
it
explain
now.
to me what's going on?
Hell no, I don't understand any of the rest of this movie after this point on. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's just batshit insanity.
So we have a regular alien that we know with the big eyes.
Yeah.
We have a Star Wars Dark Crystal little alien.
Yeah.
We have the bug alien that looks like it's from Predator.
Hmm.
We have Christopher Walken's and without half naked dancing.
Yep. Yeah.
And then he's trying on different masks and kissing the aliens.
Hmm.
This is some like fucking artsy David Bowie trippy high shit right here, brother.
Yes, it is.
I mean,
This is
I'm not at a loss for words sometimes, but I was watching this and I was just like, what the fuck is this? Is like that trippy shit, you know what I mean? Like this is like a perfect stoner movie. I mean,
it is.
how the fuck could this not be on a stoner's list? Especially those ones that want to like go into a different universe, brother. I got the movie for you.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where if you describe what's happening to the people, to somebody in this that's happening in this movie, they wouldn't believe you. It's like I can't really describe what's going on because this doesn't make any sense. It's just like gibberish.
I literally right now want to go get some of them gummies and just fucking. I bet you this movie is fucking awesome if you watch
and then
it.
watch it again. Yeah,
Brother, I might have to. I don't really even smoke that much, but I might have to because brother, you're in a different universe when you watch this shit.
for sure.
You know what I mean? So anyway, they stare at him. They all sit around. All right, they all staring. Some kids crying. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Whitley puts on the alien faces. He freaks out. He can't get out of this. We see Whitley young. All right, and now he's seeing the light when he's young, like looking up to the light when he's a young Whitley. All right,
Yeah.
and then he wakes, saying, "Thanks. This has been in a whole life past, but he's like he wakes up and then he says some Christopher Walken style stuff of thanks, but I guess now he realized that he actually has been seeing this creature or where these creatures are for his whole life, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But he just and then now he feels like, oh shit, I have passed this on to my son now.
Yeah.
About him being able to see these abductions, basically,
Mm-hmm.
with these outside creatures that we can't call aliens because that's trademarked. All right.
Well, I
So
mean,
then-
he doesn't call them aliens in the book either. He just says they're visitors. He doesn't know what
Yes.
they are. He never says the word alien.
Did he say in the book that he passed on the visitor syndrome to his son?
Yeah. He talks in the book about how he had weird things happen to him since he was a child, and he suspects that they have been visiting him his whole life.
There you go.
But he doesn't remember it.
So now he asks about the group.
Mm-hmm.
He's all like, I don't want to be crazy. Ah, too late.
Too late for that.
All right. So Annie, where they go to the group, he doesn't like the group, thinks he's going to the group doesn't like him because they think he's gonna write about everybody. Because Janet's like, oh, hey, meet my writer guy who's here, who writes books.
Mm.
He's like, I don't want to be written about. Well, he's a writer. He won't write about you though, but he's a writer. And then no shit, at the end he writes about him.
Right. In the book, he makes it sound like he kind of gets the feeling that he sounds, when he's describing their stories, he sounds like their stories are all made up, like they're just all full of shit and they're not real. And you kind of get that feeling where he just doesn't believe them when he goes to the meeting here too.
Yeah, that's basically what happens. They're all telling about their alien stories, and then basically Annie and Whitney are like, oh, we can't take this anymore, so they leave. Okay.
Right.
And because a lot of these guys were talking about their victims, and they got this and that probe. That some of them feel like victims, some of them don't feel like victims, so they just weren't really having it. All right, so let's see. All right. I do like the one story where the girl's like, yes, I was pregnant. And then the light and they came, and then the next day I wasn't pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay then. So, because they were saying that their encounters were more of them stealing the kids, which we did see a little scene of Whitney's a drug-induced LSD hypnotized dream, that there was some kids locked in to his alien room and he was hanging out with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now they want to leave. Janet wishes he would stay. He says he's tried everything, wish he was in a right mind space. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So he says and then Annie says there's nothing wrong with his mind. All right. And they both leave the soft guitar rock. You ever done that, Alison? You ever been like, oh, I'm not in the right mind space, and your woman's like, oh, you're in a great mind space, and then there's some soft rock?
I hate the soundtrack to this. It's like this. It sounds like it's supposed to be like Eric Clapton type guitar music, and it's just boring and terrible. It's boring and terrible.
To be honest with you, like it's kind of like misplaced, basically.
It's very misplaced. It would have been much better if Ministry had done the soundtrack to this, but it's just so misplaced. Like, it just doesn't seem like it goes with this movie at all.
So now they're
whatsoever.
Back home. Apparently, Whitley is all happy now, and he's in a suit, his pilgrim suit. And he asks, like, "Hey, where are you going?" He's like, "I'm going out for a pack of cigarettes." And she's like, "You don't smoke."
I smoke.
And he just leaves. So then we see a bunch of New York City. Whitley drives out past the city at night on a dark road, goes to his logging house. All right, lights all over it. Pulls up, tons of lights on his truck. Grabs his video camera to smooth rock sounds. That's where I wrote my notes. Walks towards the light, sees big bug light, goes into bug light, sees small blue alien, sees regular alien. I like my notes here. I'm sorry, I'm lost in my step. Sees small blue alien, sees regular alien. They all move around. And then he gives them the camera, says, "This must be awkward." No. He said, no, sorry. He said, "I must be awake." They do sign language with each other.
Yeah.
They shake hands. He laughs. Then they dance. And I put in my notes, I'm still really not high for this movie yet.
At this point, you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Like, this
like,
is the.
What am I watching? What am I watching? What are we even doing here?
At first, him getting probed and everything. But now it's like even more. Like, there's like 2 scenes of him just wigging out.
Right.
All right. So he sees, now he sees like him and Annie.
Yeah.
Doing some tricks. And they say boo. And like, I guess he's watching dream version of himself and Annie now on an alien ship. All right. And then he's like, "I want to go home. I'll kill you." All right. Says, "I'm the dreamer. You are the dream."
Yeah. I'm in control here is what he's saying.
I'm control you, Arias.
Yeah.
I'm going to show him, take that alien face mask off. And then he takes it and the alien's like, it's kind of like, Predator, where he has some shit underneath there.
Yeah.
All right. And he's like, "I don't believe this." I put not high enough still.
Fantastic.
Says something about a Chinese box. Says not going to let us see. All right. And he's like, he basically just wants to wake up. All right. And then I guess he's like, "So you're not going to let us see your good idea." God, I was so confused during the scene.
Yeah. The end of this movie makes no sense at all.
So then Annie and Andrew are just randomly playing the war card game.
Yeah.
All right. Whitney comes in saying something happened. She's upset and confused, and I'm upset and confused and not high enough. She asked what happened. They said they danced. Says how we do. Okay, I don't even know what's going on. I basically at this point I was just at a loss of basically what's going on. So this is when he kind of like. So here's what I think happens.
Okay. Can't wait for this.
This is what I'm guessing after all the Christopher Walken craziness, because it's hard to understand the guy because he has his own unique style of weird shit.
Yeah.
He walks into the alien portal. He makes peace with the aliens probing him, but he can't make peace with his bad dream guy. So he basically tells the bad dream guy, "I'm in control now. You're not. I'm going to live in harmony with all these alien creature deals."
Yes. So he basically just just accepts that the aliens are part of his life and that they've always been there and they're not ever going to go away.
Yeah. Okay. So basically when he gets back home, he's like, "Hey, something happened." Okay. And he's like, his wife is upset and confused. She asked what happened. He said, like, I basically, I was with these guys, and he's basically saying like, "I've had this for my whole life. I have been chosen." All right. And I had known I had this feeling forever of these creatures and other things before. I just never really let it out. So basically, like, she's like, "Well, what did you do?" or something like so. Well, I asked them to go away very nicely.
Yeah.
All right. And they just came and got their stuff. Like, he's making a joke now. It's like, "Oh, I asked them to go away, but they came by and got their stuff." All right. So basically, what's going on now is, Whitley and Annie are now explaining the journey process that they've been on. So, like I was
Yeah.
saying before, like he was saying that basically he's been visited by these special gifts, or very special creatures, and he's passed it to his son. He was doing that joke where it's like, I told him to leave, but they took what they wanted. All right, so they go laugh by this painting. Now they're looking at a bunch of art pieces for some reason. All right. They're talking about picking, and they go over a bunch of stuff while they're talking about these art pieces. All right. He's going over asking which one he likes. No, actually, he asks Annie which one she likes. He says, well, it doesn't matter. Okay. And now the Whitley character thinks that the creatures are watching him like it's like TV. All right. She's like, oh, what do they think I'm doing? I'm like, they're watching me like I'm on TV or something. Okay. And then he's going on about the earth being flat. All right. And he's saying that the earth is now getting smaller and smaller now because these guys are watching us on here. And Annie she doesn't matter. She doesn't really care if they're watching us or not. All right. And she's like, maybe they were like the faces of God. And she's like, oh, maybe they're faces of evolution. So they're just kind of going on what they think they are. So basically what's going on right now is without the old to break it down simple terms, is basically the Whitley character has accepted that these people from the visitor land they visited him and he knows he can see him, and now he feels like they're just watching him from above, like studying him. But he's cool with it. Okay. He knows he passed it to his kid. It is what it is. Okay. And he's not too sure about it. But Annie's saying, well, basically, she doesn't really care, but she also thinks it's like a gift. I mean, even though they went through you and you went through this experience, he feels like they left you a gift because you are one of the only few people out there that knows. You experience something special, and they chose you for a reason that makes you a little special. Kind of like that style of stuff. And then she was just worried because she thought she was going to be losing him for a little bit, and then basically, the Whitley character was all like, okay, well, I know what I'm going to have my next book about. It's going to be about what happened to me in this whole situation. It's going to be about my life because I have been chosen specialty from these creatures from above. That predator bug creature told me I was special, so now I'm going to write a book about it.
Yep.
Is that right? Okay.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And then he decides to write about it, and he does. And then that's pretty much all he did for the rest of his career, was write books about aliens.
Yep. So so pretty much that's what happens. So then probably at the end of the movie is basically we have Annie. She's reading the book. So basically he's writing this book. He's all happy about the book now. He wakes up Annie at the middle of the night, some annoying Christopher Walken shit, waking her up for 1 o'clock. Oh, I wrote my first chapter. Where I wrote my first chapter. It's like, get the fuck out of here. So then he goes to their kids' room. They see a light. Okay. We see that light again. He wakes up Andrew. White wakes up. They go to the roof. Andrew doesn't know what the hell's going on. They hang out on top of the roof of New York City.
Yep.
We get city shots. Whit's back doing his video, audio, TikTok stuff, and he reads stuff again. That's what I put in my notes. All right, we do the call about the book about alien touching his face. No, basically he's talking about the alien creatures, and the alien creatures touch his face. We see more shitty shots, and then they all pose on the rooftop like they're in some sort of soft rock band, and that's how we end the movie. Holy shit!
Holy shit! What was this? I just cannot imagine what your reaction was when you watched it the first time. What did Bethany think of it?
She is not the best at watching movies. Even she's like a woman. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like they'll watch movies, but they don't pay attention to them.
Okay. Those are your words, not mine, but okay.
They'll be on the phone and shit. Come on. Every guy who's like, you watch movies with a girl and they just don't, it was their idea, but they don't pay attention to the fucking film. She's like, I gotta go watch it again. Then I'll tell you my opinion. It's like, well, fuck, we're just here for 2 hours.
We just watched it.
We just saw Christopher Walken on LSD for 2 hours and you didn't even pay attention to anything.
Nope.
So I didn't really get her true opinion. I think she was a little tripped out by she didn't know what's going on either. But bro,
Yes.
I was taking notes about this shit. So I'm like, fuck, bro. I was like, I would say this is the hardest note stuff I took. That's still the number one hardest note taking for me. It was always that Possession movie we did a couple years back.
Yeah. I was gonna say
Yeah.
that this
But
movie
this one's
reminds
real
me a
tough.
lot of that movie with just how
Yeah.
fucking weird it is.
Yeah.
Just how fucking weird and
So,
strange it is.
but listen, I liked it though. I thought it was fun. Like the movie
Sure.
was fine. Christopher Walken is a great actor. It's so some of the scenes are just so like this very interesting, I would say.
Yes.
And I feel like the alien scenes in particular, I
Mm.
probably should have been a little high on it, and then maybe I would have got like the whole, out of your body mind
Yeah.
experience. And yes, like when
Right.
I get high, these things I see in my head, they're actually really there, and
Mm.
they're gatekeepers for another world are telling me that we're not alone, and there's stuff, and they're hanging out and watching us, and we're just small. We're small beings on this planet
Yeah.
when we're high.
Exactly.
All right. So,
It's just like stoner talk.
and I like alien stuff. Don't get me wrong. I was making jokes around here, but I'm a big fan
You're
of the
huge.
X-Files.
You're a huge X-Files fan. Yeah, you're a huge X-Files mark, just like I am.
Yeah. So, just imagine if fucking Christopher Walken was Fox Mulder. Holy shit.
That would have been fantastic.
Is there an alternate universe where Christopher Walken is Fox Mulder?
As Fox Mulder. Yeah.
He could have been this
That would have
character.
been, yeah.
Imagine oh my god. What television that would have been. Fuck. That'd have been something else. So
Yeah.
godly. What do you got any closing stuff for this movie, Alison?
The only thing I was gonna say is I did find out live on the air while we were doing this show that I compared the soft rock soundtrack to Eric Clapton, but it turns out it is Eric Clapton.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the music. Yeah, that's right.
We were right. So it actually is Eric Clapton.
Holy shit.
If you had not read the book Communion, and you watched this movie, and you didn't know what the book was about, and you watched this movie, at the end of this movie, you still probably wouldn't know what the book is about. It's still, or even what happened in the movie, like it's really hard to describe. When I was watching this again, I was like, how are we going to do a show about this? Because it's really hard to describe what this movie is actually like and what happens in it. It's kind of like Naked Lunch, the movie Naked Lunch, which was based on a book that's also impossible to make a movie out of.
Yeah.
But it's just bizarre. Like it's one of those things where it's not good. Like this is not a good movie. Like if I were going to pick lists of good movies, this would not be on that list. But it's like it's hard to look away from. Like it's hard not to watch it because you don't know what's going to happen next. Like what Christopher Walken is going to do next. So I don't know. I mean, it's not something I would buy on Blu-ray probably, but when I can stream it, I would probably watch it occasionally. Maybe.
There you go.
Possibly.
So
it's bizarre. Yeah.
But yeah, something everybody. Let's check it out. Fun stuff. I did enjoy this review, so it was a fun one. So
yeah.
But the retro
what do we got coming up?
The retro blood keeps on rolling, brother. We do not stop over here on the retro blood, no matter what. Even if we're getting abducted by aliens right now, like I am in this hotel, we keep on rolling.
Yep. Your next episode is going to be from the mothership.
From the mothership, brother.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you all watched, and you all should, if you watched the Lights Out episode that the guys over there did on the Jaws 50th year anniversary special, you would know that the retro blood is coming back with 1980s Shark Week month. I see Shark month.
Shark Week month.
Shark Week month.
It's got to be called Shark Week month for sure.
We're doing 1980s shark horror movies.
Yeah.
All right, and the first one we're going to be doing is Jaws 3D.
Woo! I can't wait for you to see this. You've never
Which I've
seen this
never
one
seen.
either, right?
No.
Oh, it's amazing.
Just like
amazing.
just like the alternate version of me on the Lights Out
Yeah.
talked about. I have never
Mhm.
seen any of the Jaws movies past the original Jaws.
Yeah.
So the schedule is going to go like this, everybody, because we do have Jaws 2 to talk about because that happened in 1970. I believe that happened, what, 1978, 79? Something
78,
like that?
78. Yeah. Mhm.
So we'll probably air that one, probably either the July 5th. Maybe we'll air that on July 4th if we can get it done in time. That'd be fun.
That would be
We'll
cool.
air that one on July 4th, and then on July 6th, we'll do Jaws 3D. And of course, July 13th, we'll do Jaws Revenge. All right. And then on the 13th, we'll let you know about the 2 other shark 1980s movies that we have in the works as well, too. So it's going to be a very shark month here on the Retro Blood. It's the first ever month that we're doing. We would try to correlate it with the Shark Week that the Discovery Channel does.
Mhm.
So
Because that's
it's
always
all-
fun.
Yeah, that's always fun. So, and we've been waiting to do this Jaws series for a while. Like I've been waiting to see where to add in Jaws 3D and how to add in Jaws Revenge. And since with the 50th year anniversary of the original Jaws, I thought it'd be really fun to talk about the sequels as well too. So
Yeah. Excellent. Absolutely.
and anybody who doesn't already own those ones, you can find them all on the Peacock. Hopefully they don't take them down, but all the movies are on the Peacock. So it should be pretty easy to find everything for that month as well. But before we get out of here, man, I mean, what a wild month. Like we have to do this month again. It came from outer space.
Oh yeah, there's so
Part
many
2,
movies. We're
somewhere.
definitely gonna do it again. We're definitely gonna do it again.
So watch out for a part 3 coming in the future.
Mhm.
I mean, we did Evils of the Night.
Yeah.
All right. Creature.
Night Beast. Oh, Creature.
Right?
Creature
Yeah,
was
Creature,
great.
yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
As I
Beast,
call it,
yeah.
as I Creature, as I call it, not Alien.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Night Beast. I mean, we started off with Night Beast. I mean, that was something else.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Evils of the Night, which is
Yeah.
basically like a porno.
Yeah.
Creature, which was an
Yeah.
alien ripoff.
Yeah.
Terror Vision was some sort of like wacky comedy.
Yeah.
And then we got fucking Christopher Walken, LSD, Abduction, space alien, sci-fi stuff.
Stoner movie.
Stoner movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is also a comedy, kind of.
we got the gamut. I mean, that's everything you need right there in this whole month review.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
really fun month. I enjoyed all
This was
the
a
episodes we did.
packed month. Yeah, for sure.
So, but everybody check it out. If you have it in the archives, we have all those ones. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your
everywhere.
podcast from.
Yeah.
All right. And when you listen to the podcast, you actually get the music at the end. All right. When you listen on YouTube over here, they hate when we put music and shit on stuff because they block us, and they already been doing that already because we curse and I do whatever. We say whatever.
Yeah. They hate fun over there at the YouTubes.
So,
fuck
but we're
'em.
on here having fun with you guys. Check us all out. We got a big library. We're almost at 200 episodes. You know that, Alison, huh?
That's crazy, dude. I cannot wait for the 200th episode.
I'm gonna be so drunk that episode.
Yeah, that's gonna be coming up before too long.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly when, but yeah,
it's coming up pretty soon. It's probably be sometime in August. We have the date down. When we get there, I'll talk about it, and we'll do a little special episodes for everybody.
That'd be awesome.
But Alison, what Ministry Strong do you want to take us out here with?
Man, I think that we should go out on a weird note, just like this weird ass movie.
Yep.
And we should do the final song on "A Mind Is a Terrible Thing to Taste," which is called "Dream Song."
Dream song, brother, because there is a bunch of dreams going on over here, supposedly.
Yeah.
We have dreams of alien creatures.
Yep.
Taking Christopher Walken while he's smiling out of his cabin country home. Then probing him. Sticking him with needles. He kisses them and dances with them naked. All in a good fun. All in a good dream. You know what I mean? Gotta have more dreams like that.
Yeah.
So.
Dreams about aliens.
But everybody, James Kline and J.H. Alison, we will see you here next week for Jaws 3D. And check out, if we get it there on time, Lights Out is back, talking Jaws 2.
Jaws 2.
So
it's going to be awesome. Jaws 2 is great as well. Jaws 2 is awesome.
We got Jaws 2 and Jaws 3.
Mhm.
Jaws 2 Lights Out, Jaws 3 Retro Blood. See y'all later.
Yeah. See you guys.